You tired of lies and leftovers? The Real Black Agenda is crushing 3 bestsellers list. Grab it on Amazon or hit the link in my Instagram bio at The Business Bully before they try and silence it. So President Obama has said it would have been harder to have raised a son. Again, I'm confused as to who doesn't understand that in this society. The bigger problem that we're going to explore today is the fact that President Barack Hussein Obama had 8 years to make it easier for parents of black sons and did damn near nothing. I don't just want to rant. I want to make sure that we're running down actual facts that you can research in your own time for those of you who think that I'm just coming for Barack Obama. The first thing I want to point to, Barack Obama created a program called My Brother's Keeper, which was supposed to be geared towards black men, but it was actually geared towards absolutely everybody, because when there are programs for black people, they say optically it's for black people, but it's really for everybody. That program had no binding policy changes. It just had mentorship programs and private programs that had absolutely no government oversight whatsoever. So that's what I'd like to call a deluxe nothing burger with cheese. But let's keep going, shall we? After what happened in Ferguson, Barack Obama launched the 21st Century Task Force on policing. Now, that sounds really cool because when you hear things like war on crime and task force, you think that that means something. No, that's what we call PR. That's marketing. And it works every time because it looks like he's doing something when not doing anything at all. Like right now, if I go like this, it looks like I'm running, but if you pay close attention, I'm in a really comfortable leather seat. I'm not going anywhere. That's what that was. It released a bunch of recommendations, not one piece of legislation. Not one. You can Google this for yourself. Qualified immunity? Untouched. Federal tracking of police killings? Still absolutely optional. It was like a filet mignon and you left your dentures at home. Sounds good, looks good, even smells good, but absolutely no teeth. So there's no way for you to digest it. Now let's talk about education policy, shall we? Obama expanded No Child Left Behind under something called Race to the Top. You know what that did? The same thing as Joe Clark was doing in Lean On Me. More testing, less teaching. More regurgitation, less student retention of information. So again, these are show ponies. They're not helping anything. By the way, when those testings, that's why Joe Clark, if you look at the movie Lean On Me, was so focused on those test results. When the test results come back as failing, that means the school fails. If the school fails, then guess what happens? State and federal funding, gone. That's why there's so many high schools in, I don't know, let's take Philadelphia, that are being turned into luxury condos and not bastions of education. Because here's what no one wants to say. An educated black man is a black man that cannot be controlled, because an educated black person is going to think for themselves. And when you begin to do the research on this thing that you call a smartphone, but mostly dumb people don't use it for what it can be used for, you begin to see that there's a lot more money in cultivating criminality than there is cultivating progress. Community investment. The former president talked a lot about investing in communities, but let's break it down and unpack it, shall we? There was little to no funding for grassroots or natural organizations that would help spearhead different projects to help young people get ahead and move forward and cultivate skills. There was not one executive order that was tied to creating workforce jobs and things like being an electrician, being an HVAC, any type of skill with your hand, no plumbing, no master electrician, none of that. There were no tech centers either reinforced or built in high densely populated black male areas. There was no effort to change any type of education outreach for high risk areas, just more lip service. After Trayvon Martin happened, there was no executive order. There were no DOJ federal charges filed. Go back and look for yourself. We got that one soundbite, and he turned around and walked right back into that big White House that was built on people that he doesn't have any ancestral ties to. There was no systemic response to racial profiling or stand your ground laws. We got nothing. You took the George W. Bush plan of No Child Left Behind, and as a college professor, the son and nephew, and even father of educators, I can tell you for a fact that your expansion of No Child Left Behind left every boy behind for the most part. You left them dumber and less equipped. More black men are more functionally illiterate than any time in American history. More black men are not even enrolling, let alone staying in colleges, particularly HBCUs, because not in one small part to your No Child Left Behind expansion. And now you want to sit around. It's almost as if you're like some type of mad scientist that allowed something to fester in a lab and then say, you know what, there should be a cure for this. Bruh, you had an opportunity to cure this with the stroke of a pen, and you didn't. And I know there's going to be people in the comments who say, but Barack was one guy. He couldn't do anything. He's not the president of black people. He was the president of all people. Well, the president of all people didn't have an issue making sure that there was a path to citizenship for so-called dreamers, aka illegal immigrants. The president of all people didn't have an issue making sure, even though he was completely against the rainbow marriages, he made sure they had a path to marriage. He made sure that there wasn't any don't ask, don't tell for the military. He took care of specific groups specifically and met with their specific needs. He got on camera and told another black reporter, there's not much that I can do. This is America. That's not how America works. We can't just do things for specific people. And then turned around and told a bunch of Native Americans what he wanted to do specifically for them, and then did things specifically for Native Americans. But when it comes to our black boys, all you have is color commentary. Just like when Trayvon Martin happened on your watch, you said, he could have been my son. No, he couldn't have been. Because if he was your son, he would have been privileged and paid millions of dollars to do certain things. Because we see what sons of presidents get to do. Ron Reagan got to dance around in the White House in a pair of dance skins. Joe Biden's son, Hunter, got to get on global television and say that crack is not as bad as alcohol. Yes, he said that. So if he were your son, I'm sure he would have been as privileged as a Kennedy, as privileged as Sasha and Malia are. By the way, if you cared about the safety and health and well-being of young black boys, please explain why you did a bunch of photo ops and video opportunities on camera talking about what was going on in Flint and said, oh, I'm so thirsty, I'd like a glass of water, when 90% of Americans who have access will drink bottled water first. But you did that to demonstrate that the water was safe. But here we are in 2025, and we're what, 1, 2, 3 presidencies later, and the situation in Flint has not gotten much better? I'm trying to understand who you're performing for, because you sure enough did not perform for young black boys at all. You've got a $60 million Netflix deal. You've got multi-million-dollar mansions in Martha's Vineyard, in Hawaii, in Chicago. But what have you done for the people of Chicago? Because, oh, well, that's right, you sent your former chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, to Chicago, and he became the mayor of Chicago. And that's when Chicago went to chicken. I can't say that word because we're not going to get a copyright strike, or we're not going to get a point strike, or whatever kind of strike they want to throw at us here at the Tube of Views. Then that made the way for Lori Lightfoot. Then that made the way for Brandon Johnson. All these well-meaning Negroes who say they're going to do something, but then they continue to advocate for illegal immigrants, while black people who have paid taxes and paid into the system and have worked their entire lives don't have a leg to stand on, a pot to pee in, or a window to throw it out of. So I challenge you to explain to me what your plan was, what you did that I might have missed in the 8 years of your presidency. And I've spoken to you, so let's not act like I'm coming from a place of a person who did not support you twice with my vote and also with my platform and with those conversations. I'm trying to understand where you get off saying this, because from where I sit, the only place you really need to get off on is your high horse and walk with the black people and the black men that you claim to care so much about. If you've got a question for Ask Dave Anderson, you can email me, Dave@businessbullyshow.com. Make sure you comment, rate, and subscribe right here at I Never Knew TV.